Hey everybody, in this episode of the GH Report, Franco gets memory mapped with Drew's memories. And what do you do when you wake up and you don't recognize your own face, let alone the face of the person that says they're really you, and you gotta wait till you go down to a bar and run into the rich kid to really get a look at what you're supposed to look like in 2019. Boy, folks, we got a lot of memory mapping to talk about right here next on the GH Report.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
It is the GH Report. Oh! There you go, folks. Right here on a Sunday afternoon. Talking about all the goofiness happening in Port Charles. I'm Frank Moran.
I'm Carla Renata. I'm sorry. Frank has me cracking up. Oh my God, you are pure comedy today. I cannot.
As always, folks, like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and the chat is up and running. Like these fine folks, you can jump in and join us.
Yes, let's do roll call. Hey. Barb P, Stuart Pierce. Oh, say, did you see? Oh, say, did you see? Joe Costanzo, Annie Goen, Jody Daly, ZK, I want to say ZK, that's wrong. ZK, Michael B, Tom Clev, Yasmin, Jerry Jacks, Loretta, Dolores Leach, Kelly Public Cover, Jody, I think I said Jody Daly already, Zoe Johnson, and Marlon Wallace. Welcome, y'all.
Look at that. I will be honest, you went deep in the list before you got to Kelly. And I was like,
Kelly, I know Kelly was down. She wasn't at the top of the list because she signed on a little bit later. But that's all right. She there.
Thank goodness. All right.
Don't Kevin. Come for Kelly because you know Kelly be coming for me in the chat room. And she said your rap was lame.
I didn't even get a chance to even get into it, Kelly.
I know. Anywho.
Wow. Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But folks, we're going to break down all the latest happenings. There we'll have a little bit of news and gossip at the end to round out our time together. But before we jump into everything in particular, Carla, what did you think of this past week overall?
Oh my God! So once they put Shiloh in jail, and we found out that, and we waited with bated breath for Franco, aka Drew, to wake up, to see whether he was going to wake up as Franco, which, you know, anybody with any common sense knew he wasn't going to wake up and be Franco. Waiting to see if he was going to wake up and be Franco or whether he was going to wake up and be Drew. And then the whole week kind of just centered around that. Like, this is the thing that made me laugh. It made me laugh. This is when you realize how small of a town Port Charles really is. When the talk of the town, the only talk of the town, is the fact that Franco doesn't remember who he is. Because how many times did we see Sam say, oh yeah, Robert filled us in, or somebody else was saying, oh yeah, so-and-so filled us in, oh yeah, so-and-so said this, Maxie, oh God, what's wrong with him? And Peter's like, oh, this is all my fault. Like, it was just like a whole thing of everybody having their own reaction to that news, which was boring to me.
And I wish I had more of a map of Port Charles in detail to see where everything kind of relates to each other. But the floating rib, our great, Max Scorpio owned drinking establishment. I want to know where that is in relation to this, because I feel like once Franco leaves, Franco/Drew says, I got to get out of here.
Leaves GH and he goes to the floating rib.
It's just like, I mean, is it right there? Is it right there where, I mean...
Because it looked like it was around the corner. It looked like he didn't have to walk far to get to it. I'm like, okay. Because that means it's around... That means the floating rib is around the corner from the hospital, which is also around the corner from the baseball park.
Oh, boy.
Where they're playing baseball. Oh. Everybody's got on their little... I love how everybody had on their little baseball jerseys with the different companies on the front, like, Corinthos coffee. Like, everybody knows Sonny Corinthos ain't really running a coffee import. Like, really? Y'all got a shirt that says Corinthos coffee? That made me laugh out loud. I'm like, that was just pure comedy. But you know what wasn't pure comedy, and what was my favorite moment of the entire week? Always involves Maurice Bernard. I love Maurice Bernard. He don't love me back. It's all good. But that moment that he had with Mike, when Mike was getting married, I was like, oh, and he's pretending to be the pastor. Whenever there's scenes with them, it's always so heartwarming and always so, it feels very realistic, for lack of a better way to say it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want Sonny to get too soft. I can't have Sonny get too soft. Like him having a moment every once in a while is alright, but I can't have him getting too soft.
What I wish the show would do, and I always makes me want to do my own little special cut of the show, is when Sonny and Mike are in some sort of kind of heartwarming situation. It's supposed to be an important life moment, and then Mike doesn't remember who Sonny is and refers to him as somebody else. And it always cuts back to Sonny, and he's always got that sad look on his face, and I just want to put in like a sad trombone.
No,
He's always like, he always gets a certain look on his face.
But think about it. Think about if you were talking to your mom or dad, and at some point in the conversation, or maybe immediately, you realize that they don't have a clue who you are. Like you can't say anything. You can't be mad about it. You can't, like, there's very little physically or verbally you can do in that situation. So, the waterworks and the tears, crying on the inside situation happens. So I love that scene. I love that what's Stella's boyfriend's name? Marcus. Is his name Marcus? Marcus brings the dress for her. So I guess we won't be seeing him no more either, huh?
Well, no. I mean, as we'll talk about later, we've got Stella, Renee Watson, has booked herself a role on a new Chuck Lorre show for CBS. So she's leaving the show for...
And I love, they gave her... Excuse me. I must say that most of the time when a character leaves, they either leave and they're replaced, and there's that voiceover saying the role of so-and-so is now being played by so-and-so, or their exit is very messy, or it's kind of left up in the air for the audience or the fans to decide what happened to them. They did a very classy exit for her with Curtis, and it was very classy the way it happened. But I have a feeling that's not going to be the last that we see of Aunt Stella.
I don't think so either, but I thought it was a classy way to leave, but I also thought it was... I mean, we've been hearing about this family tree for a while, but to go from 0 to 60, like, oh, yep, guess what? We got this, and now they want me to fly me over here, and I'm gone. See you later. I'm leaving tonight.
Well,
leaving tonight.
In defense of that, so I will defend that, and I will defend it because I've been on those ancestry sites, and you do find out about relatives very quickly, and that kind of thing can happen where you can go and fly and see them really quick, or they send for you really quick, because I actually had that happen with myself, with a relative that I found out that lives in Japan, that actually she was in the States, and then as we were talking, like in the first... 2 weeks that we were talking, she found out that she got engaged and her fiance was going over to Japan, so she moved to Japan. So only reason why I'm defending that is because something very similar to that happened to me in real life. That's the only reason why I'm defending it. Otherwise, I'd be like you, like, that's ridiculous.
Did she fly you out?
She offered to, but I couldn't go.
Did she know you couldn't go?
Yeah, she did know I couldn't.
That's why it's easy for her to offer.
No, yeah. I think she would have offered anyway, because we would Skype together and we would try to figure out, like, because she had half of the family tree and I had the other half, so we were trying to figure out. We were trying to put the puzzle pieces together, because what we discovered is that my family's last name is Burchett, and because it's a British name, it was actually originally spelled Burkett. Birket, and then it evolved from that to Burchette. So because of that, we had a hard time tracking people down, because in the African American community back in the day, particularly during slavery times, they would spell stuff the way it sounded, not necessarily the way it's supposed to be spelled. So we had a hard time trying to figure some people out, but it was fun. It was fun trying to figure it out, and we went all the way back to the 16th century.
Wow. That's impressive.
It was impressive. But I say all that to say that it is possible, so it's not completely crazy and out of the ordinary. But I liked how they tried to send her off in style. I did like that. It was written really nicely. She was able to give us some range even in sitting there. Like when Jordan says something about, Stella said something about, they say, well, what if she starts acting crazy? And she says, well, I ain't gonna stay there. And then she starts laughing and getting all giddy all in the same sentence. Like, it was cool. I've enjoyed her on the show.
I definitely will miss her now. I was not a huge fan at the beginning, but that had more to do, not with Renee Watson as an actor, but just the kind of the same story beats they kept on hitting again and again with her when she first came on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So there's that.
Once they were able to get past that, then there was a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, when she first came on, it was that they were beating us over the head with her hating on Jordan, and then once they got past that, then it was easier to enjoy her presence there because she was really starting to get on my nerves for a while. Remember?
Yeah.
We talked about that a lot. So yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing they did for her was to get her a job at the hospital. Because then you got to, especially with her relationship with Mike, you really got to see some different shades of her character come out. And I thought they did a lot to help her out.
Absolutely. So now it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Curtis and Jordan as a result of that.
You know, it wasn't, because when they were saying this, I thought she was just going on vacation. Just the actor. Because and it wasn't until after the show was over and then I started looking through websites that I saw that she had been cast in the show and was leaving the show. So I was, because Curtis's reaction is like, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't have her around. I'm like, she's just going for a few weeks.
I knew she wasn't coming back because they were crying, and they were crying real tears. Like it wasn't. There was a moment where I was like, "Oh, they crying for real. I wonder what's happening. Like, did she get like for a minute? I was like, did they fire her? Like what?
You're fired. I'll go to the
What's
scene.
going on with Aunt Stella? What have happened? But yeah, it was, and not for nothing, but, and I'm just gonna call a spade because that's what I do. 3/4 of these soap operas that are on television, and it's only a handful of them now, they only have like, 2 or 3 little spots of black people on there to begin with. So, and usually the black characters don't last for very long, or when they are on there for a long period of time, they only come in, like for Sonia Eddy, they would only use her for the nurse's ball, and now they're starting to use her a little bit more. So to see them actually take the time and build a storyline around Jordan, Curtis, and Stella, have a beginning, middle, and end to it, or a fake end, so to speak, it was nice to see that actually happen, as opposed to what they usually do, which is some crazy stuff. So.
No, I was totally expecting that this was going to be some kind of plot where she was going to be abducted and then it was going to be
I was down for that. Yeah. I was all down for that. I'm like, ooh, we got a new adventure coming. And then she was like, oh, I'm going to London tonight. I'm like,
Yep. That was it.
I was like, oh, she's not coming back to the show. And she seemed giddy in real life. Like she was excited for a new chapter, a new adventure. Because Renee Watson has been a guest star on television for decades and has never had her own show. Never, ever, 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 ever. I was saying before we went on the air, she was Will Smith's auntie on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So she's been guest starring here, co-starring there, but she's never been like a series regular on a show. So this is nice for her.
For sure.
Yeah.
So to hop back, we were talking about at the beginning, good old Franco getting his memory mapped. The thing that bugged me about that is that we see the way they structured those scenes when he first starts waking up, where they would always ask the pointed question, well, what's your name? Or they played so long drawing that out for the reveal.
They did. And let's talk about when Epiphany gave him that shot. You would never give somebody a shot in their shoulder to knock them out. Like she like reached over. Yep. Was it John? Yeah, she reached over and hit him like right here in the shoulder blade. I'm like, my mother was watching that with me, and my mother is a registered nurse, and my mother yelled at the TV screen. She's like, a nurse would never give a shot like that. What are they doing? And I hollered out loud. I was like, oh, Lord. And my mother hates General Hospital, but I love it, so I don't really care. But she was like, they would never. I said, well, maybe you should go be a medical consultant. She's like, no, I'm good.
Now, certainly Franco's character's been around for a while, and he started from a very troubled background, and they've done a lot to rehabilitate the character. This storyline, for however long it lasts, and with Billy Miller leaving and not knowing if they're going to be recasting the role, I'm fine with Franco having this for a while. I mean, clearly it's never going to be long term, but it's almost a shame that it wouldn't be, in a sense, because what I did like about Jason Quartermaine after the injury becomes Jason Morgan, it gave the actor a whole new character to play, and in some ways a much more enjoyable character to see. But
what's going to happen with Elizabeth's character now is the question, because she seems to she is the epitome of Tammy Wynette, stand by your man. Like whoever her man is in the moment, she will stand by her man within an inch of her life. But then they never let her have a man for very long. Like the only person they let her have for any long period of time was Lucky.
Very true.
I'm just saying, everybody else has been like ships in the night.
Well, she's been with Franco for a while. I mean, this
And
is
Jason was a ship in the... Well, Jason and Lucky, because she was with Jason for a minute, too.
Yeah, but never enough to the satisfaction of the Liz Jason fans.
Yeah, no, well, that'll never be to the satisfaction, because they never really had a chance to see where that would go.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons, mostly Sam.
But there's something about seeing, like, Roger Howarth given, which maybe I'm sure is exciting for him, given new material, given a new character to sort of play.
Yeah, I didn't like him. What I didn't care about that was when they were in the hospital and he began to manhandle Elizabeth. I didn't like that. When he grabbed her by her shoulders, it looked like he was going to throw her up against the wall. And I was like, you can be forceful without putting your hands on her. I don't need for you to put your hands on her. You know what I mean? If this is supposed to be Drew Kane, the Drew Kane that Billy Miller and what's the child's name that plays Jason?
Steve Burton.
The Billy Miller and Steve Burton version of Drew Kane was a strong silent type, but sensitive, especially when it came to women. So I didn't particularly care for the fact that this Franco version of Drew put his hands on Elizabeth, like he was going to throw her on the other side of the room to get her out the way. I didn't like that. That was out of character for that character to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the one thing that a few weeks back when we started seeing some of the flashbacks that Shiloh was having about their time with his Drew back in the military, and him going to say, hey, I'm going to make sure you go to prison for what you're trying to do here. That was the only time we've really seen the real Drew, for just those bits, and it's certainly in a heightened moment. We never have had a chance to see normal Drew, so we have no baseline to figure out, like, how close this is to Drew. So, because what I liked about the flashbacks, it was the first time, like, oh yeah, hey, this is Drew. I almost would have wished we could have seen some more flashbacks of just Drew being Drew, as opposed to
before they went into the flash drive situation.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree.
Because I'm trying to, because my only comparison is Steve Burton as Jason.
Right.
And that's a totally different character who's had a totally different life experience.
Right. I agree with that. I actually agree with that. What I also will say about that is, it would have been nice to see flashbacks of him dealing with Kim too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, instead of him just having that flashback with Shiloh, it would have been nice to see him have flashbacks with Kim. It would have been nice to see him have flashbacks with Jason before the split up with them happened. They showed a little bit of that, though, when they showed Jason and Drew as little boys, when the whole when they were trying to figure out how they were related and stuff back in the day. When they first introduced that character, they would show when they were trying to figure out how he threw him down the stairs and all that drama. Remember that?
Oh, Franco and...
Yeah. So there's all that going on. But I say all that to say that it would have been nice, like you said, to see flashbacks with those different people before we got to this flash drive place, so that we could figure out, or at least have some semblance of what the old Drew was like, to make that comparison of whether or not this Franco version of Drew is even close to what Drew Kane is supposed to be.
Because when I see him have that interaction that he has with Kim in the hospital, like hearing him talk with Kim, I don't know, there was just something about it. I was like, oh, this guy's kind of skeevy. It
was kind of creepy. It creeped her out. She was freaked out. And that's another thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how Franco thinking that he's Drew, how that's going to affect Kim actually leaving Port Charles. Yeah. Is she going to leave now? She may not. You know what I mean? She may not leave with Julian. Remember what the psychic said? The psychic was like, oh, she said to Ava, oh, I wouldn't worry about him. He's not going anywhere.
Yep, and she had like a nice smile on her face. All right.
As she always does. I kind of love that psychic Chelsea. Chelsea's pure comedy.
I am digging her much. I mean, certainly Veronica Cartwright, a Hollywood legend there. But so it was cool to see her in a little bit. But I've been enjoying Chelsea much more.
And they're giving her a lot to say. It's pure comedy. I'm like, well, okay. Go ahead, Vanessa. Yeah. No, Veronica Cartwright was the other one.
Yes, that was the first one that she left. So it was nice to see her for a little bit. But I'm enjoying Chelsea much better.
Chelsea's killing me because she's always like, and I love when she was dealing with Laura, and Laura was like, oh, I wish you took cash, and she was like, it's 2019. Of course I do. She reached down and got her little machine. I'm like, okay, that's pure comedy that psychics are taking credit cards. Yeah. Like, wouldn't you know whether or not somebody had cash if you were psychic? I'm just saying.
But also, why do we got to have a machine? Just Venmo me. Just hit me up with that Venmo.
Well, she said that. I think she said something about Venmo. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I thought I heard that. But anyway, the fact that she whipped out that little machine out of her purse made me laugh out loud. And then Laura like went off on her and said, Laura's like, do you know you're in violation of penal code? Da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, okay, Laura.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, Miss Mayor, you better know your penal code.
What I did like though about that is like the first time you're going to meet a psychic is you want to at least try to test it to see the legitimacy of it. Mm-hmm. And so I did like that. Laura was like, I want to get in contact with my brother, and not having a brother just to see how that would go. And so I was like, all right, smart move. That is a good deal. So,
but then when she said, but I have a message from your son. Oh, did she say she had a message from her son? When they got to the part about the son, she immediately assumed that she was talking about Lucky because she doesn't know that Nicholas is probably still alive. And then when they had their little moment and they went off on each other, and Chelsea was like, oh yeah, so I wasn't talking about the son in Arizona or New Mexico, wherever he is. She said, I'm talking about your other son. And Laura's face was like, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
That made me laugh out loud. I'm like, okay, y'all got jokes. I cannot.
I feel like we got to see a Nicholas reappearance. I mean, whether it's Tyler, Christopher, or somebody else, but I feel like there's like too much talk about Nicholas. And
yeah, he's definitely gonna come back. We know that. He's definitely gonna come back. What about Hayden getting caught by Liesl?
And GH does this a lot, which we've talked about, where they will set up an idea. But they will play coy with the audience, and there's this item or there's this secret, and everybody talks around it but never says it. And the scenes that we get to see, especially two characters that both know it but never say it out loud to each other, and it's always like, and like the only reason they're doing that is because they don't want the audience to know what it is yet, and frustrates the heck out of me. And so I feel like GH, which is fine to kind of intrigue and pull you into a storyline, but I also feel like GH does a thing where they run it too long. To the point where it gets annoying. And they do run it. I agree with you on that. They do run it too long. But I love that Liesl and Hayden were finally able to have that moment. Because up until now, they kind of have been ships in the night, and there's been little quips here and there. But they've never really had that moment where they had a conversation. And Hayden looked scared, like she was sweating. I'm like, why is homegirl sweating? She was sweating like a whore in a church. I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. I mean, it's to the point now where I want to know what this is that they're looking for. Just tell us.
Yeah, they're not telling us what it is, and it is getting ridiculous. It's like, okay, so what exactly are they looking for? And then, did you peep this? So while she was in the trophy room looking for whatever she was looking for, did you peep how long the camera stayed on that picture of Helena Cassadine?
Well, because we're going to be seeing her soon.
I'm like, why is the picture, I was like, why is the camera on Helena Cassadine when Hayden is okay. Because at first I was like, is there somebody behind the painting? Like, are we going to see some eyeballs moving? Yes, you know what I mean? I was waiting. Are there going to be some eyeballs moving back and forth? I was like, I don't know what's happening with that. But in that exchange between Liesl and Hayden, of course, I'm the one that catches all the funny lines. Baby, when she said... She looked like Joan of Arc compared to Hayden. And when Hayden said to her, oh, your vision hasn't suffered from age, I see. I'm like, ooh, y'all are going in. That was funny. They went in on each other. It was pure comedy to me. And then when she snatches that phone. Now, when she snatched the phone, I thought that was a bit much. But then she snatches the phone and realized that she's getting these text messages from Jax. And we learned from the baseball game situation that Liesl has a little crushy crush on Jax. Which I'm first of all, Jax is way too young for you. What are you doing?
Well, not way too young.
Come on now.
It's, so there's somebody you have a crush on. And you just can't hang out with them at the bar after you've played baseball or softball together. You're all just gonna hang out at the bar afterwards and enjoy drinks, maybe have some friendly smack talk. She's got to tell Maxie, like, I got to go back to the Spoon Island. This takes more than just going to the restroom to clean
Which was
up.
Funny to me that she gonna go all the way to the pier, take the lunch, go to Windermere, change clothes, and come. You really think people gonna still be there when you come back?
Exactly. Like what were you thinking? There's no way. I mean, because bare minimum, Liesl, I feel like, is going to shower. She's going to shower.
Yeah, she's not just going to change clothes and smell like she been rolling in sawdust all day. No.
So, I mean, I feel like that is a bare minimum of an hour minimum trip. Because I feel like it's got to take at least 15, 20 minutes to get to Spoon Island.
Well, she said 20 minutes. 20 minutes. She said it takes 20 minutes. So there's 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back. That's not counting the time that you got to get ready, which might be 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending on how long it takes you to get your act together. And if you're going to wash your hair, then you got to wash the hair, you got to blow dry the hair. That's like a good 15 minutes right there. Like, who is going to wait 90 minutes for you to come back so that you can flirt? Nobody.
I would have loved to have seen that of Liesl coming back and there's nobody at the bar anymore. That was it. Because
Hayden didn't take the launch, but Liesl did.
Yes.
So I'm just like, okay, y'all are funny.
So again, we still have this Jack storyline being drawn. I mean, I love seeing Jax in the show, and it's been great to see him mix it up, especially with Nina and Valentin. Mm-hmm. But I just want to know what's this thing? Because at this point, I'm like, you're losing my interest in this.
And they're barely showing what's going on with Sasha. They barely showed that this week.
Yeah.
I'm like, if she's supposed to be in such dire health, don't you think we should have seen her at least once? Like, we heard her referred to, but we never really saw like a whole lot of action happening with her, you know?
I would be curious to see if they put the pieces together before Cassandra reveals herself to Nina, or it's only until then they realize, like, oh, it's Cassandra and she's back.
Yeah, that's gonna be be ugly when she shows up.
Yeah, it's because we see Michael kind of filling in. It's like, oh yeah, there's this woman here that we didn't realize. We've seen them kind of talk about it without giving any specifics on what she looked like or anything like that have kept Finn from kind of making a connection.
Yeah, maybe she's gonna come back and finish the job with Sasha.
Dun dun.
Oh, and let's talk about your favorite couple, Chase and Willow. They barely got time this week too, and when they did, it was so corny.
But hey, she respected, how dedicated he is to his job.
Yeah, I'm like, they could have kept that scene. I was like,
from all the stuff where I was reading online, where they kind of made you like, Willow's gonna see a different side of Chase. It's like,
yeah, what, that he does his job? Like, okay,
that his dad was a teacher and it really got him involved, and really appreciation for teaching.
I cannot. And another scene that I liked happening was the scene between Drew and Monica, where Drew's basically giving her the breakdown. Like I said, everybody's gossiping and talking about this one thing. So Monica's the latest one to hear it because she was in surgery or with a patient or whatever, and he tells her everything that's going on, and Monica's like, well, this might not be such a bad thing after all. And he's like, for who? She's like, for you. And I'm like, how? And I'm thinking, even I'm like, well, how is that? How is this going to turn out to be a good thing for him?
Well, I mean, the chance to talk, it's like a chance to talk to your past self. Especially if you don't remember anything about your past, if you had a living body, just a living embodiment of your past life, to be able to ask them all these questions and get those answers. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? Mm-mm. You'd be fine just not knowing anything about your past? Mm-hmm. Really?
Because when you know about the past, then you can alter it. And sometimes altering the past gets in the way of something really good that might happen in the future. It's kind of that whole Back to the Future ideology. Like, I wouldn't want to do that.
You know,
like what if me messing around with the past messed up how my mother and father met? Then I wouldn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I would want that.
But even if it's not that time traveling, but still the ability to ask this person that has all your childhood memories, all these questions you've had about your life growing up, any of your backstory.
I don't think I would want to know. I don't think I would want to know.
Interesting.
I don't. Would you?
I think I would. I mean, I would be curious to know about stuff that...
Stuff?
Yeah. Hey, did I always like pizza?
Did I always like pizza? Not did I always like pizza. I cannot.
Yeah, that'd be the very first question I would ask. I always like pizza because I kind of like it now. Is that always the case? But just to know about some of your childhood motivation, your kind of personality. Are you the same sort of personality type now? Even though you've got somebody's memories mapped over you, is there anything within you that still resonates with that person that you're hearing about that you originally were?
I don't think I really don't think I want to know.
All right.
I don't think I want to know. I think I would just rather play it out as it comes.
Interesting.
I'm more of a live in the present kind of person.
Because what I did like about that scene is when Monica says, "Why didn't you just get rid of that damn thing?" And I can see what Drew's honest thing was. It's like he was hoping at some point technology would evolve to the point where he could try to do both.
Yeah, I totally bought that because I was like, there's always that hope against hope that, he could find out what. Now, if you could find out without losing stuff and without it being detrimental to those around you, then I might entertain it. But for the most part, if I had to make a decision based on what I know right now, I probably wouldn't do it.
It's a bummer because I'm intrigued by the storyline, but knowing that Billy Miller's not going to be sticking around for the long haul for this, it's real quick, just a hot sidebar on the character of Drew Kane. Do you like that character? Do you think that character is interesting enough to see that once Billy Miller leaves the show, that you would want Drew Kane to come back onto the show, even played by a different actor?
I think the mystery that they have shrouded around the character of Drew Kane is enough to keep me intrigued about what happens with him. But they will need to step up their game in that regard, because right now it's kind of the same old with different people. You know what I mean? It's like the same old situation, but with different people playing the role of Drew Kane, and that's getting very tiresome for me. So they're gonna have to step up their game in regards to that to make me kind of step up and pay attention.
It's because one thing I feel like Drew's been as a character has been let down in many different facets. The one area that I don't think he's been let down, and I wish I would love to see more of, is his relationship with Monica.
Yeah, like that seems to be a constant, because there's been drama with Sam, there's been drama with Kim, there's been drama with Jason, there's been drama with Franco, there's been drama with almost everybody and anybody that he has had to come in contact with except for Monica Quartermaine. So I love that though, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't have him have conflict with her, because I think for this character to be in as much flux as he's in, there has to be at least one person that's a constant for him. At least one.
Yeah.
So and that's cool.
Hearing him call Monica mom I was like, oh, that's really cool that their relationship has got to that point.
I know, right? That was interesting. I was like, oh, he called her mom. Well, okay.
Yeah, and even though Jason has gone from Jason Morgan to Jason Quartermaine to Jason Morgan. Mm-hmm. Gosh, it's 15, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. But in some respects, even though Drew's only been around for about 6 years, in some respects, he is closer to Monica now than Jason Morgan is. Because of even though Jason still has an affection for Monica, it is still a bit of a detachment.
Mm-hmm. I think you're absolutely right in that regard, but I think because of what's happened with Jason over the period of time, like the brain injury and the this and the that, all the stuff that's happened to him, and working for Sonny, that has caused him to kind of keep his distance and be a little, not colder, but just not as warm and fuzzy and all up in our face as Drew is. And Drew is and Jason knows his lineage. Like, he knows that he's a Quartermaine. He knows about Edward. He knows about Tracy. He knows about all these people that were there. But Drew has absolutely nothing going on. Like, he can't remember Jack. So for him to have Monica as that one constant, somebody that he can go to, who's not going to pass judgment on him, who's not going to try to tell him what to do, who's not going to try to talk him into anything, who's simply just going to listen to what he has to say. I think that character needs someone like that.
What I did think was interesting was when we see Franco and Jason get a meet at the Floating Rib. Mm-hmm. And for Jason to not have any knowledge of him having a twin brother makes sense. But for Drew to have a twin that you find out about because you see him in the paper because he comes from a well-known family, to learn about that, it was cool to realize that Drew knew that he was related to Jason, and he knew all about, as much as for somebody from the outside looking in could know about Jason Quartermaine's life.
Right. This is the epic fail with all of this Franco Drew business. When they had him look in the mirror, and even he says, when he's talking to Jason, even he says, I didn't look like me. Well, dude, if you don't look like you and everybody else is calling you by another name, don't you think you ought to like pause for the cause for a second? Like, I'm like, really though?
Yes. That it took that long for somebody to show him his reflection just to get him to prove, like, yeah, that's why we're calling you Franco, because look at you. You don't look like yourself.
That was ridiculous.
Yes.
And what wasn't ridiculous, though, that made me uber sad, was when Cameron came in and found Elizabeth on the sofa and was like, where's Franco? He's not here. Cameron has got like guilt for days because he was such a butthead to Franco for so long, and then Franco ended up saving his life, because that could have easily have been Cameron walking around with no memory or Cameron being dead, and Franco unselfishly took his place to save him. And so I think that them having that mother-son moment where they have bonded together and decided that they're going to work collectively to try to get him to remember who he is without like shoving it down his throat was a good move.
Yeah, and I do like Finn reaching out to Hayden to say, like, hey, some stuff's been going down with Elizabeth. Maybe you should go, be
and
support.
I love how she showed up and she was like, I'm moving in. And I was like, oh, that was a nice moment. I'm like, oh, she really trying to be slow. Hayden's not all bad.
Yeah.
She got a heart. She not the Tin Man.
Because it was the nice thing. I did like the dynamic that was beginning to develop between them when Hayden first left the show. And I feel like, they're just getting to the point where it'd be interesting. So
it'll be nice. It'll be nice to see. It'll be nice to see that relationship. I hope they show us more of that relationship. But you know what relationship I hope I never see more of is that freaking Brad, him messing with the computer, was he trying to change the biological what was he doing? I was confused because one screen popped up and had Shiloh's name, and then another screen popped up and had another name, and I wasn't grasping very well what it was exactly that he was trying to do before Lukas caught him.
Yeah, it felt like he was trying to, hide Wiley's paternity, mixing up with Shiloh.
Weren't you confused? I was confused because the one screen had Shiloh and then another screen had Michael Corinthos, and I was like, and he's typing, but I'm not seeing anything going on the screen that I'm like, what is he doing?
It was that whole sequence was.
Do you know what I'm
awkward.
saying? It was weird.
He just comes into the hospital lobby, and he's like,
right. He just roll. This is the first thing. First of all, there's a computer sitting in the middle of the hospital hallway that he can just roll up on and start using. Like, you ain't got to type in no password.
Yeah.
You ain't got to put in no username. Like, he literally just starts typing. I'm like, oh, come on now, y'all.
You just couldn't go to your lab? Isn't there a computer right there in your lab that you can do this
right where
private?
Nobody can see you?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And him talking to Julian. You can't leave town. Who am I going to talk to about all this?
And Julian was like, I love the fact that Julian was like, well, maybe that's a good thing. I'm like, well, okay, Julian. Kick him to the curb. Julian was like, I'm kicking you to the curb, and good luck, and worry about your own problems. I got my own over here happening.
Well, speaking of Julian's problems, because Kim and Lukas have a little conversation words, and Kim says, hey, you're just getting back together with your father. You say it, I will let Julian know that this is something I have to do by myself. And so Lukas brings that up to Julian and says, hey, she said she's pretty much going with or without you, so,
and
what does that
Julian's
mean?
like, yeah, I'm out. He's like, the only reason I stayed was, for you and the kid anyway, but, I can see y'all any old time. He's like, deuces. I'm like, wow. That was actually surprising. Don't you think that was surprising? Because he whined and cried and acted out for so long about being able to see his grandkids that now all of a sudden it's just so easy for him to walk away.
Do you think Julian is being foolish?
Hell yeah. I think it's all gonna come back, because if he doesn't stay there, when it eventually pops off with Brad and that baby drama mama stuff, when all of that comes to the forefront, he's going to be the first name that's going to come flying out of Brad's mouth. Well, Julian helped me. He is. He can't hold water, and he's definitely not going to go down by himself.
No. It's just like with Julian, knowing if you're in a relationship with somebody that is grieving and wants to leave town to get a change of scenery to hopefully help you through the grieving process, has already said, I'm going to do this with or without you. It doesn't matter. And you decide, I'm still going to go anyway. Are you a fool for doing that? Or are you somebody that's like, I'm sticking by the person that is going through a tough time and I want to be there to help them through this?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think I think because the person going through, you're not going to be able, you can be supportive of the person that's going through the hard time, but they're going to have to go through the hard time. They're eventually going to have to come out on the other side of that by themselves, eventually. So there's that. And then the other part of it is you walking away and you're going to leave all this drama in Brad's hands. Have we not learned anything about Brad in this situation over the last year? He cannot hold water. He cracks under pressure. Like, really? You're really going to leave? That's foolish to leave him there to deal with that because he can't deal with it.
I did like him. Like, I can't take I used to take these classes. They were helping me, but I can't do those anymore.
I wanted to punch him in his throat when he said that. I was like, dude, it's dawn of day. Like, what the hell are you thinking? I can't. I cannot.
As much as we complain about the park as being one of my favorite settings there in GH, we see, as we were talking about a little earlier, we see the softball game happening between Corinthos Coffee and then
yes,
from Aurora Publishing. But it happens on a set. I was bummed that we did. Why?
That it wasn't in your favorite location, the park?
I mean, if you're going to do it, just have them walking around. Because there was no need. We have the fence. Great. And so we feel like we're in a
because
ballpark.
There's not a park. Because for them to be able to shoot that, there's no way they could have shot that at a park.
Great.
They would have needed way too many cameras. It would have been too many angles. It would have been too many setups. It was hot. There's a lot of reasons why they were not trying to do that out in a park.
What I do love, though, is that we see the person that's been hanging around Lulu occasionally.
I know, I kind of like him, but when that fool went like this, oh, you came because of these. I'm like, dude, your guns are not all that impressive. Get over yourself.
Yeah. I was like, what are you doing, dude? But then also when they're at the softball diamond. And Jack says, "Oh, hey, yeah, you are new driver for Aurora Publishing." And he's like, "All right." Like he was just like, "All right, dude."
I think they're trying to figure out what to do with him. I think that him and Lulu have good chemistry. I think their chemistry is good, so it'll be nice to see what happens with them. When she read him about the well drinks, though, that was funny as hell. She's like, "Yeah, you're getting a well drink. You're getting the worst thing they have to offer, a well drink." I'm like, "Ooh, well, not every bar that has well drinks are their well drinks bad. You just kind of dissing all bars, really, Lulu? Is that what we're doing right now? Okay."
But I'm also tired of shots of those two guys, Lulu and the guy talking, and then it just pushes through and we see Maxie watching them intently.
Maxie lurking in the background. Maxie's been doing a lot of lurking these days. Maxie is becoming the queen of lurkeration. She's just like,
oh, great. You know what I did love though is our boy Robert Scorpio. He does a little sleuthing and sneaking about where he's in the hospital and he kind of hears Finn and Valentin talking and he kind of takes a step back, listens, and then it goes and throws in a misdirection to Valentin. I was like,
I love that.
That's my boy.
But can we just talk about how orange he was? He was very orange.
Hey, Robert.
And I know he didn't go to Australia because it's wintertime there right now. So I'm like, what tanning bed did you go to? Because you were orange.
It's tough. I mean, he's a man who's out in the world as a WSB agent. You're going to get a great tan. You're out on all these remote locations, so you get a great tan, and then you realize you're kind of landlocked in Port Charles. You
call that a great tan? He was orange.
He's getting his base. He's got to go back for the next round.
Good. Oh, that's a lot going on. I'm glad I was born with a base and a next round because that right there, that's a lot going on. I'm like, I cannot.
I'm hoping next week we do see a scene of Robert going to the tanning bed. I gotta go.
I'll just bring one and sit it right on top of the desk. What kind of news do we have?
Oh, some hot, super hot news.
AfterBuzz TV News.
I mean, certainly the biggest one was Renee Watson leaving. So
makes me sad.
And she is gone to the great beyond. No, she's still alive.
Don't say that. Don't be cursing her like that. I rebuke you in the name of Renee Watson.
The great beyond being CBS. And a Chuck Lorre show. It looks like we are going to be finding out more about Hayden's the baby dilemma and the possible paternity of it. Could we be throwing a little monkey wrench into the plan? Because we did have her ex-husband that had showed up around the same time as well. So
this is true, and she also was very tan. So there's that. She had a little orange situation happening too. But continue.
So who knows? Could this baby be Finn's? Could it be the ex-husband? So
don't know.
it makes it less interesting if it's the ex-husband as well. So, and we still don't know. I mean, Sasha is certainly on death's door and is going to be heading more that way. We're going to see some involvement with the Cassandra storyline, as well as the afterlife with Ava, and possibly some Kiki connections. So we're going to see those things start tying up there.
Okay.
But right now, where do you place the odds of Sasha making it out of this ordeal alive?
I don't know, dude. They've thrown me off the scent with that a little bit. Because for a minute, I didn't think she was going to make it through the week. And now they've gone a whole week without us seeing her. So that means that's telling me, as a fan and a viewer, that they are revisiting how they want to have this play out.
Yeah, it's...
you know what I mean?
I mean, I haven't seen anything yet about her, being let go from the show or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it does give me hope that she's going to stick around for a little bit.
I hope she does. It would be nice to have Michael at least have love for a little while.
Well, true. And I think the drama of the revelation that she's not really Nina's daughter will...
That's going to be devastating. Ooh, I can't wait. I can't wait for those scenes, because Liesl is going to lose her mind.
Yeah, but I think it plays better if Sasha's alive. If she's dying and they find out and then she dies...
Yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, we don't get to really dig into that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Folks, just a really short and sweet little news nugget for you. Because the time has flown.
It really did.
Yes.
And we had 64 people in the chat room.
64
What?
strong. We love it. And folks, that strength, you give that strength to us by joining us every single Sunday. So thank you so much. We know there's so many places that you could be watching. I mean, you're already hanging out with Carla at 5 o'clock at Black Hollywood Live there, so you can see her burgeoning media empire as it rises higher and higher in the Hollywood stratosphere every single week. But folks, thanks for watching us, and if you're get involved in the conversation, whether it's on YouTube and you're liking and subscribing, whether it's on iTunes, you give us a 5-star and leave a comment. But thank you so much for getting involved and helping us become the ESPN of TV Talk.
Yeah. That went really fast.
That did.
Let me do a little shout out real quick. Annie Goen, Melody Mae Moffitt, Michael B., Marlon Wallace, Kelly Public Cover, Barb P., Dolores Leach, Michael Paluzzo, Stuart Pierce, Jerry Jacks, ZK. I said ZK. I said Annie Goen. Somebody named Tinkle Love Music. I think Tink Love Music. I think that's how you say it.
Oh, nice.
I like that one. Rena Sheen. Oh, say do you see? And I think I got everybody for the most part. Oh, Drew W. and Drew M.
Love it.
And Barb P. So thank you guys.
Yeah, and now Carla's going to say who her favorite person in the chat room is.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to say my favorite person. They're all my favorites. For variety. They are all my favorites for a variety of reasons, because they all bring something unique and special to the conversation, and I appreciate you all for that. Thank you.
Nicely done. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the GH Report. As always, like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and thank you, everybody, hopping in the chat there. And if you're watching after we've streamed live, make sure you comment down below. But if you want to stay in touch with either of us after the show's over, Carla, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at 5 o'clock over at Black Hollywood Live for The Curvy Critic, where I talk about the latest releases, some classic joints, and some interviews along the way.
Look at that. Folks, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not following along in Carla's, whether it's Black Hollywood Live, all the other cool stuff she's doing outside of here. Make sure you follow her. It's time well spent. Folks,
thank you.
You got it. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. We'll be back here next week with an all-new episode of the GH Report right here on AfterBuzz TV.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.